So welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to talk about the latest bill that is passed by Biden and how that affects the pharmaceutical and also the semiconductor industry. So my name is Eric and I'm a CPA. So let's get started. So this is the article that we want to talk about today. Biden unveils supply chain plan to boost medicine chip output. So it's actually posted on Bloomberg as of June 8th, 2021. And basically, it is to compete against China because there is right now a technology war between the two countries. So let's dive into this article a little bit more. Now, when you're looking at this bill, Bloomberg is saying that there can be some potential tariffs that will be imposed on imports, which will obviously increase the tension between the two countries. And basically, the administration will also establish a supply chain disruption task force to address near-term bottlenecks that can affect the economic recovery of the United States. And in this case, I do think it is quite difficult to address the supply chain bottlenecks because mostly supply chain is distributed around the globe. So even though there is a task force, it might be able to address some problems, but some of the international problems will be difficult to address. So let's continue on. Now, the supply disruption in those industries have caused price increase and extended delivery times. So in this case, they're really referring to the semiconductor industry. And if you have been in the graphics card market trying to buy a machine to mine Bitcoin or just trying to build a new computer, you'll realize there is actually a shortage of graphics card or in general semiconductors. And in this case, you'll actually find a lot of companies, they're running out of chips, so they're not actually able to produce. And one of the interesting events is that some of the automotive companies in China or around the globe have stopped production temporarily due to chip shortage. Now, one of the companies was Tesla, where they focus on designing their own chip and manufacturing their own chip, I believe. Then their disruption is a lot less compared to other automotive companies like NIO, which you probably have heard of if you're familiar with EV. Now let's scroll on ahead. So basically, the inquiry would be done under Section 232, so we'll just skip that, which allows for tariffs without a vote by Congress if imports are deemed to be a national security threat. And I think in this case, they're really referring to any medical or semiconductor-related imports, because in order for US to maintain the strategic advantage over, let's say, China, semiconductor will be an important technology that China is desperately trying to get a head start, or not even getting a head start, just playing catch up in this game. Now, if we scroll on ahead, then you'll find the US Department of Agriculture on Tuesday announced plans to spend $4 billion to bolster weakness in food supply chain that showed strain with shortage during the pandemic. This is really because some factories are temporarily closed or delayed due to COVID, and basically, USDA is trying to address a shortage of meat processing facilities in the country and encourage regional infrastructure to support smaller processing plants. This is actually quite interesting because one of the investments we have gone through in Investing Accelerator is Tyson Food. And before this news article came out, we actually invested and profited from Tyson Food. So I think we made over 50% gain on that investment alone. Now, before we dive further into the semiconductor shortage and how to think about it between China and US, I just want to celebrate another 3 successful case studies where Andy made 53% from Sienna in 2 months, Simon made 32% from Sienna in 2 months, and Fruit made 30% from Sienna in 35 days, and Annie made 45% from Sienna in 35 days as well. So congratulations to you all as part of Investing Accelerator. So back to the topic of the day. If we continue to scroll down for this article, then here you will find the White House also recommends Congress to appropriate at least $50 billion in funding for semiconductor research and production in the United States. Now, this is very important because the last thing you want is to have semiconductor to be produced outside of the United States, because that's where you get potential leakage in technology. And if there's any war, not saying there is any yet, between countries, or sovereign issues, then that technology can end up in the opposing country's hands. So that's why it is so important for semiconductor industry to remain within US, because it is a national security. Now, just a quick update after that, Senate already passes the bill to help US compete with China. And when you're thinking at a national level, a strategic level, it is so crucial that US passes this bill and basically help the technology sector to compete with China, because within China, there's a lot of state funding, which is government funding. There's a lot of basically different incentives for the technology companies to succeed. So for example, when you're looking at Alibaba, when you're looking at Tencent, they are basically the equivalent of Google, Facebook, and Amazon in the United States. And what China did was essentially creating a wall so then the local technology companies can thrive in that environment without the competitors from the outside. And that's why when you're in China, you can't really use the Google search engine, you can't really use Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Everything has a China version to it. And if US is always playing in this kind of uneven playing field compared to China, then over time it is going to be lagging behind. And obviously the China firewall has been set up for many years, and now I guess US is feeling that urgency to catch up. And when you're thinking about the China's investment in various technologies, they really think many years ahead. So the plans that they put in place will not necessarily come to fruition 5, 10, or even 15 years from now. So that's something important to keep in mind. Now, if we read this article a little bit more, then here you'll find the Senate overwhelmingly passed an expansive bill to invest almost $250 billion in the US manufacturing and technology to meet the economic and strategic challenge from China. So obviously the Senate and the government is feeling that pressure from China. And I would say a lot of the technologies that China is being developed right now is almost on par or very close to catching up to the United States. So for example, the other day I was on the Taobao store within China, and that is basically the Amazon in China, and they're promoting a new product. And that product was actually a robotic arm. So you can imagine it is just an arm that will sit on your table, and you can program that arm to do whatever you want. So normally this is something you'll see in a YouTube video in a manufacturing plant, whether you can use the arm to kind of pick up some goods and so on and so forth. But on Taobao, this arm only costs around 100 to 200 bucks USD. Some arms cost a little bit more, maybe up to 500 USD. But this is really a consumer grade level robotics for everyday use. And if China is already at the mass production of automation and robotics for everyday use, and when I'm looking at the Amazon store in the United States and I don't actually see that kind of products, then you can see how advanced China is. And the thing is, because there is that China wall, you will not know what's happening in the China market unless you're kind of on the ground, because a lot of the news articles or events that are happening are blocked off by the firewall. So China can be making a lot of advances without the rest of the world, Western world, knowing, and this will lead to a giant, basically leapfrog state when you're compared between China and the Western world. Okay, so the good news is that they did pass the vote, which is fantastic, and we'll keep moving on. So this includes a $52 billion emergency outlay to help domestic manufacturers of semiconductor to expand production. So this is important because from a US perspective, the production of semiconductor needs to stay within US locally. So from a stock investing perspective, what you're trying to think about here is really, well, what are some of the companies that have US manufacturing plants for chips? So that's what I looked up for you. And here you'll find a Wikipedia article, which anyone can access, on semiconductor fabrication plants in the world. So here you'll find I have sorted it based on country, and the first one obviously is United States. And I've highlighted a couple of companies that you can potentially look at. Now obviously you'll need to do a lot more research on it, like Micron, they have manufacturing plants in the United States, Texas Instruments, And these are some of the companies where you want to dive deeper, do a little bit more research, learn how to time the market, because just because there is a bill that is being passed, it doesn't mean the company is a good investment. You definitely want to do more research. ON Semiconductors, Intel, and so on. So when you're looking at these investments, within Investing Accelerator, we have actually invested in them before. So for example, Intel was actually a recent investment within the community as well. And I think personally for Intel, I've made over 100% in the recent increase for the last couple of months using stock options. So those are some of the opportunities we would look at in Investing Accelerator. And when you're looking at US from a strategic perspective, these are the companies that will benefit from this bill. So that's how you would think about it. And when you're going through this list, one of the interesting things you'll find is actually you don't find AMD. And that's really because for AMD, they focus on designing the chip, and the chip manufacturing process is actually offshored to other companies like Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, which is TSMC. So here I've highlighted TSMC here, and basically all of their manufacturing plants are in Taiwan. And one of the reasons why there is a semiconductor shortage is right now there is a water shortage in Taiwan. So that's actually the problem. And until that drought is resolved in Taiwan, I think there's going to be continuous shortage in semiconductor. So the prices for computers and automobile will go up because there isn't enough semiconductors to go around. Now, as a final point that I want to cover, I think we want to take a look at the Chinese investment in semiconductor. So from a Chinese perspective, this is also a national security issue, and reliance on US for semiconductor long-term will be very problematic for Chinese. So that's why they are putting actually a lot of money in semiconductor to try to catch up to US technology today. And when you think about the more expensive semiconductor equipment, it is not being sold to China. So what they have to do is to first develop that process, develop the machine, and develop the chip as well. So it's quite difficult for China to catch up, but nevertheless, that is something they will have to do unless they want to continue to have that reliance on US for semiconductor. So if you scroll down here, then you'll see in 2020, China's IC, integrated circuit, output rose nearly 30%. And for April, it increased another 30% as well. So this is April 2021. So they're really growing rapidly, and over time, they should be able to create more chips that are more advanced, smaller, and faster as well. So that is pretty much it for this article. Basically, they are putting a lot of money into building manufacturing plants for semiconductors, and they're catching up to US fast. So they need to, so US needs to respond quickly as well. So if you want to learn more about investing and how to use these kind of knowledge to invest in the markets and target 30%, then you can go to the link below and watch the free case study. And this month, I'm looking to help 20 people to master investing. And you don't need to have a financial background, but you do need to be motivated and passionate about investing and potentially retiring earlier as well. So I'll see you in the next video.